We're joined by Jackie DeAngelis, financial correspondent for the Fox Business Network. Jackie, thanks for being with us.
Oh, great to be here.
You delve into a variety of topics pertaining to the economy on a daily basis. We've all been impacted financially in some way due to the coronavirus pandemic. What guidance can you offer in terms of the action that can be taken to help everyone with everyday bills, for example, credit cards, car loans, school loans?
Well, it depends what kind of situation that you're specifically in. Obviously, a lot of people have been impacted by the fact that they're not working right now. And so their situation would be more severe than somebody who, say, is working from home or is able to go into work like I've been doing since the pandemic started. So let's start with the folks who probably are really struggling. Maybe they've been furloughed. They don't necessarily know when they're going to go back. When it comes to resources, you really sort of have to rethink your whole financial world. And unfortunately, so many of us before the pandemic didn't have our financial houses in order, right? But if there's any time to do it, this is the time. So what I always tell people to do is first examine your expenses with respect to, the bills that you have to pay, and then your discretionary bills. And then, of course, we all have those things that are extras that we spend money on that we may not necessarily need, but that we want. And so I tell people to prioritize and really try to make a budget. If you haven't already, this is going to force you to do it because resources are going to be tight. If you're living off of unemployment right now because you don't have a lot of money saved, if you're living off of the stimulus check that you got from the government, it's really time to prioritize and say, look, whether it's my rent or my housing, my mortgage payment, whether it's my car payment, and rank them in order and sort of go from there. Maybe the $5 coffee drink goes away. Many of us are not getting manicures and pedicures and going to the salon. So you may find that you have a little bit extra than you would during your daily life. It's time to sort of look at things on paper and shift everything around, because ultimately you want to pay your bills during this time period if you can. You don't want to have a black eye on your credit score. You don't want to have problems to deal with down the line. And so these are some of the things to start thinking about, and trimming expenses.
I know that we are beginning to open up, throughout the country. Early on in the pandemic, I recall hearing about credit cards offering some assistance in terms of how you pay or not having to pay for a period of time. Does that still exist? And when it comes to car loans, school loans, is there a period that they're offering to help people?
Every loan that you just mentioned, including mortgages, for example, is negotiable. And this is something you'll hear financial experts talk about all the time, whether or not you're in a cash crisis or not. If you find yourself in that position and you're having trouble making payments, the best thing to do is not just sweep it under the rug and go ahead and default, assume that the system is going to take care of you because we're in a crisis time during this pandemic. What you need to do is pick up the phone and call. You call the lender, whether it's the mortgage company, whether it's the car loan company, whether it's your student loan debt provider, and talk to them about it. Credit cards also. You would be so surprised what kind of deals you can cut when you call, get a human being on the phone, explain your situation, say you have every intention of paying, it's just a tough time right now, and you want to work with them on some sort of a payment plan or something to help you get through this time period. A lot of lenders will work with you to do it. They rather have you consistently paying them something than paying nothing at all.
I know some people have looked into tapping into their retirement funds. What would be the long-term effects of doing that?
I actually suggest that people do it if they're really strapped, but not for things that are unnecessary, for really important bill payments. I believe the provision says that you can, because of the pandemic, tap into your 401k up to $100,000 and use that money for your personal expenses. It would have to be paid back later, but you could do it without a tax penalty right now, which you normally wouldn't be able to do. That's your money. That is savings that you've put aside for the future. So while I would advise people, not to necessarily blow everything they've put away, for this rainy day that has come now, if you don't have savings and you really do need that money, it definitely is an option. But just remember that the goal should be to put it back when you are gainfully employed or when your employment situation improves, and map out a strategy and a plan and hold yourself accountable to be able to do that.
When it comes to small businesses, a lot of businesses unfortunately have had to close. Do you have any action steps that people can take when they own a small business?
It's tough. A lot of small businesses have been struggling right now, as we know. I know a lot of small business owners that have tapped into the Paycheck Protection Program that helps keep your employees on the payroll. It also helps manage your expenses like your utility bills, your rent, as we get through this. The problem is we're not necessarily sure how long that will be extended or if there will be another round where businesses can tap in. And the pandemic is taking a little bit longer to play out than most people thought. So as we reopen, not every small business is going to immediately get back on its feet. I urge you to take advantage of that program. There still is about $150 billion, I believe, that was left in that wasn't used. So they are still taking applications. But having said that, you also need to look at your small business the way you would your personal financial house, with respect to managing expenses, costs, etc. A lot of people are going to find themselves in a cash crunch and they are going to need to tighten up. It's better certainly to do that than to, throw the baby out with the bathwater and close your business altogether. But the reality is that some businesses will not make it through this.
And what can people expect in terms of costs at the gas pump?
Costs at the gas pump are actually on the rise right now. We saw oil prices go to historic lows. They were even negative just not long ago for about a day. But having said that, as the economy reopens, demand for oil prices or demand for oil goes up, and that increases the price. And the price then gets higher at the pump as well. Because we're in summer driving season, which is typically the height of the season as well, because people are traveling and taking vacations, you'll find more people as we reopen are doing that rather than getting on a plane to go somewhere. So expect your gas prices to go up 10, 15, possibly even 20 more cents than where they are now, even though they've risen a lot already.
Jackie, thank you so much for the insight that you've been able to share with our viewers. We've been speaking to Jackie DeAngelis, financial correspondent for the Fox Business Network.